Hello, welcome to News Centre. With me, Parikshit Luthra. The DMK has joined the Aadmi Party and opposed the central government's stance in the case against so-called freebies. The case is related to a PIL filed by BJP leader Ashwini Upadhyay, opposing the practice of political parties promising freebies during elections. When the case was first heard, the union government argued that political parties use public money to gain power while also making a distinction between freebies and welfare schemes. Meanwhile, the Aadmi Party argued that schemes aimed at socio-economic welfare of the disadvantaged cannot be termed as freebies. Hearing the case today, the Supreme Court agreed that welfare schemes should be distinguished from freebies while also observing that there is no free lunch. The Apex Court also questioned if free education, healthcare and electricity can be classified as freebies while recognizing that promises alone don't win elections, with many parties losing despite bold promises. Supreme Court has now allowed parties time to submit suggestions when it comes to setting up an expert panel and will hear the case on August 22nd. Joining me now to take this forward are Anuja Kapoor, spokesperson for the BJP, Aadmi Party spokesperson Priyanka Kakkar. Also joining us is A. Saravanan, spokesperson for the DMK. A. Saravanan, if I can come to you, the Supreme Court has noted that this is increasingly getting very complicated. What constitutes a freebie? What is a welfare measure? What impact does this have on the country's fiscal health as well? What definition of freebie would be acceptable to the DMK, considering that this has been a practice in Tamil Nadu, in some other states as well ahead of elections, and at the same time, the Supreme Court now wants to set the record straight on the issue?
See, I think it's a vexed question, asking what is a freebie and what is a welfare scheme. How can you ever define that? I think it will be a futile exercise trying to define these two terms. If you look at the Dravidian model that is propagated by the DMK party in the last 70 years, and the ADMK, of course, in the state of Tamil Nadu is consistently in the top when it comes to any social index. If you look at both the economic growth and the social growth, Tamil Nadu has been able to obtain that. No other state in the country is able to balance both of this. So this is because of the inclusive growth. And how this inclusive growth was possible? Some may term it as freebie. When our great leader, Dr. Kalaignar, announced that free televisions would be given in 2006, everybody opposed it. They said you are wasting taxpayers' money. But after 15, 20 years, looking at the impact that has created, those times, color television was a symbol of privilege, caste privilege, money privilege. And later studies revealed that this color television empowered the women and the underprivileged, because who could not read and write had a good hold of the entire happening across the world, because they were the news, whatever, infotainment, everything was beamed straight into their houses. So in 2006, it was debunked as a free scheme, and look at the impact that has created. And midday school scheme, midday meals, will you call that a freebie or will you call that a welfare measure? When it was introduced in the 1970s, prior to that, it was again dubbed as a freebie. Why are you wasting taxpayers' money? That was the constant refrain. But look at the impact. The GER of the state of Tamil Nadu is almost around 51%, which is twice that of the national average.
Okay, now
so
let me get in views.
Don't interfere in our economic policy.
Mr. Saravanan,
we know what to do.
Okay, let me get an Aadmi Party. Let me get an Aadmi Party, and Priyanka Kakkar, if I can come to you. The Supreme Court has asked whether a distinction can be made. They also said that welfare schemes should be distinguished from freebies. There are no free lunches. What is the Aadmi Party's view? Would the party be ready to make a distinction as the Supreme Court is asking?
Hi, Parikshit. The Aadmi Party, as it is, we invest in education, we invest in healthcare. As the spokesperson before me will also agree, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu visited our schools, mohalla clinics, to see the revolutionary change we have brought in. That is how we invest on our citizens. As it is, nothing is, all of us are taxed today. There is a tax even on dahi and paneer now. So all citizens are paying some form of tax, whether it is direct, whether it is indirect. And freebie, what would constitute freebie is, say, a jumla that bullet train will start by 2022, or there will be 100 smart cities, or there will be, say, a house with every Indian by 2022, or say 15 lakh rupees in every account. This is jumla. And since the BJP spokesperson is sitting here, I also have a question for her that, this time we saw the budget went through excessive reductions. Reduction in the health research by 35%, reduction in the defense budget by 80,000 crore, reduction in the Manrega budget by 25%. So where has this money gone? And also, in addition to it, it seems that the BJP has no problems or objections when it spends the taxpayer money, 20,000 crore on, say, Central Vista, or say when it spends money on loan mafi of the Udyogpatis, 11 lakh crore is written off there. So this I would constitute as freebies, but not the services that we provide to our citizens if we come to power in every state. And I also must mention that Delhi happens to be a revenue surplus state. So we are able to give back things to our citizens. I understand the discomfort of BJP. Almost all of its states are in deficit. So therefore, I'm assuming that is the objection that the BJP has.
Okay, Anuja Kapoor, you've heard panelists from the Aam Aadmi Party, the DMK. They are saying that these are strictly welfare measures which have contributed to the economic growth, to the welfare of the people in their states. Why should there be opposition? What is the BJP's view? And would you be open to inter-party consultations, political consensus on the definition of freebie?
Pariksha ji, I would just like to put my contention forward on the fact that being a lawyer, very well understands what is freebie and what is a welfare scheme. What Modi ji's government is giving is a welfare scheme. Why? Because they are looking into each and every aspect of life. These people, called as Arvind Kejriwal's party, they are giving a freebies because they are asking people, in lieu of votes, they will give electricity, they will give water, and they will give health services, which I do not see anywhere. Apart from this, why this is a freebies? Because when my friend Priyanka ji is talking about the surplus budget, they are talking about their government has, that is around like 50,000 crores. I just want to ask on which particular development. Oh, I'm so sorry. 78,000 crore. Thank you for correcting again on this. Basically, what happens is you are keeping this money for yourself. Where did you put this into development? That is why you have such a surplus money with you, because the problem is you have not in any way developed any kind of a flyover, any school, any hospital which we see. Your MLAs, ma'am, this is a problem with you, sir. Parikshitji, I was very kind and sweet with the madam. I would like her to be quiet. This is what happens when...
Ms. Kapoor, I also had one question. There is also a view coming in that this is not something for the Supreme Court to decide. This is something for the executive to decide. It is for political consensus. The Supreme Court cannot be ruling on such a matter. So what is your view on this?
I think if a PIL is gone to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court is taking consensus on it, I think the laws are perfect for them and they understand where it stands. So if they are talking about and taking an observation in this, and they are talking and speaking on this, where Ashwini Upadhyay ji has given his consensus on this and is talking about it, and PIL is being accepted in the Supreme Court, so it means that it is ambit in the court of law, and that is why the Supreme Court is giving the guidelines, or it's asking the center and the state to speak on this. Are they, you tell me, is it fair for a common man when they're talking about the elections? I'm just going to say, Prashantji, Parikshitji, that there is only a problem of Freebie is that it is not been completed. You do go and say anything. As Arvind Kejriwal ji say, I have an Article 19 consensus with me and the Constitution gives me this right of free speech. Do your free speech. But the problem which, ma'am, allow me to speak. But what the problem is happening is they are not completing what they are saying. When they talk of the stuff called as freebies, it is a freebies only on the word of Article 19, nothing else. If you have seen various PCs which Adesh Gupta ji has done in Delhi as well as in various other places, we're talking about, you have only what you have just seen. They have given the policies and the schemes to divert the money of their budget to their own pockets. They have never been gone to their own Sarkari hospitals because their own MLAs, their own CMs are
let me get in word
in
now.
all the private schools. You can see that there even children don't go to the Sarkari schools.
I'll request you to hold on for a sec. I'll request you to hold on now, Anuja Kapoor. Let me get in Priyanka Kakkad and A. Saravanan once again. Now, Priyanka Kakkad, the Supreme Court has asked for more information, submissions from all political parties on this. They have said this is a serious issue. There is an impact on the finances of the country, and it is a very complicated matter at the same time. There will obviously be some observations, be some recommendations, be some orders that will come out from the Supreme Court in the days to come. What is the best way forward? What are you expecting? What would the Aam Aadmi Party want from the court and from political parties?
Parikshitji, already, it's been about a month ago when this petition was first admitted that our Honorable CM, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, he even suggested the way forward. He said that we could all cap the capital expenditure on the welfare schemes. That is one way forward, but we will see, since the matter is sub judice pending in the court, we will see what all political parties submit. That is one aspect to it. Now, coming back to Anuja ji, what troubles me is the moral authority that BJP has after preaching one thing and practicing quite the other.
Do you understand the difference between a fundamental right and a fundamental duties? Do you understand?
Can you please explain?
Are you a lawyer?
Can you please explain?
This is where I'll tell you. This is what is happening.
Okay, we'll go one by one.
Listen to it. If you want to understand, then listen. I'll tell you on the basis of law.
Can I come in?
Yes.
Fundamental right does not include.
All right.
Does not include.
Anuja Kapoor, we're taking quick comments from the panelists.
Yeah, the
fundamental Priyanka Kakkad, please complete your view and I'll get in a word from Mr. Saravanan.
Thank you, Parikshit. Thank you, Parikshit.
Yeah.
Can you, please. So, one, I do not understand this moral authority when it comes from when there is double speak all the time. And because Anuja ji just mentioned the BJP chief's name, I must tell you that the BJP chief during the Jahangirpuri, digressing a bit, but during the Jahangirpuri riots, the BJP
Don't
chief...
divert it because it has no consensus out here. Don't divert it because if I'll start speaking, then you will also feel bad. So don't get into this.
I won't. Please speak. Now,
let's talk about the Supreme Court matter and the question that the Supreme Court has asked.
Sure. Coming back to it, Parikshit ji, see, we believe that, it is a quote by somebody whose name I forget, but we too believe that a developed country is one where the rich travel by public transportation and not where the poor have cars. So that is the fundamental...
done by us, Madam Ji. It has not been done by you.
You're lying.
How much have you paid?
You are lying.
How much have you done? Problem in the developments?
Madam, it is 50-50 partnership.
Metros have been done by
us. It is a 50-50 partnership, madam.
Priyanka Kakkad, just hold on for a second. Let me get an A. Saravanan. A final word.
Yeah.
50-50 partnership, Metro is Anuja ji. 50-50 partnership.
Yes, please tell me.
Leave it. You don't know. Please get your facts right.
Everyone should Google.
When it comes to freebies, the Supreme Court is likely to pass some observations, some recommendations in the days to come. All political parties may have to be guided by that. So what is your expectation from the Supreme Court at this stage?
See, the Supreme Court has already passed a guideline. See, in earlier Balaji's case, which came out of the state of Tamil Nadu, the Supreme Court has already stated that you cannot announce something for which, if you announce something, then you'll also have to find a source of the funds. You'll have to say in your manifesto how you're going to do this. So especially when it comes to the state of Tamil Nadu and the DMK party, we have been champions of social justice. And the most important question would be, I would like to ask this, put on record, we would want the Prime Minister to answer this. The Prime Minister spoke against freebies. Will corporate tax reduction come under a freebie or what? Or concession to his friends? How do we take that? And what about the loan waivers, write-offs? How can we term that? In what way we will term that?
Okay.
Is that are they not freebies? Are they not impacting
we're running out of time, but A. Saravanan. Okay, so it is a complicated issue, and clearly, as we see on this panel, there is no consensus over it. Yeah, Anuja Kapoor, we've run out of time, unfortunately. We'll have to leave it there, but we will keep this discussion going with different stakeholders over the days to come. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to thank Priyanka Kankar and A. Saravanan as well. Don't go anywhere. This discussion continues with senior advocate and former additional Solicitor General of India, Siddharth Luthra, on the other side. Welcome back to News Center. Joining me now to take the discussion forward is Siddharth Luthra, Senior Advocate at the Supreme Court. He's also the former Additional Solicitor General of India. Thank you for joining us on the show, sir. Let me begin by asking you, can a distinction actually be made? Here you have political parties saying that whatever we are doing, whether it's free water, whether it's free electricity, or even distribution of television sets, it's contributing to the growth of economy of states, it's for the welfare of the people, you cannot call it freebies. On the other hand, the BJP and the centre are saying that this practice needs to stop. How does one really make the distinction under law?
So, the matter is going to come up on Monday before the Supreme Court. And the issue that needs to be seen is whether there is these freebies, if we may call them that, fall within the scope of the term bribery under the Representation of People Act during elections. So that's clearly prohibited by law. Having said that, the Constitution and the directive principles make it clear that people must be given under Article 38 equal rights, equal access, social, political, economic justice. And also there are other articles in the Constitution to talk about giving people employment, social welfare, health, and other amenities. Now, those are clearly in furtherance of the directive principles, and those who are proponents of the advantages to be given to certain sections will try and bring them within the four corners of the directive principles and link them up to the fundamental rights to say that the state has a duty to provide facilities to bring up for the welfare of the people and to bring their social and economic life up to a standard where the right to equality is maintained or honored. Having said that, the issue is about the grant of freebies, and I don't take the proposition regarding the economy, a boost to the economy very realistically, because that's not tenable. Either the argument is the constitutional argument and ensuring that it does not fall afoul of the Representation of People Act. There is also, but that Representation of People Act, I must add, applies in relation to elections and to bribe a voter to cast a vote. So that's a very limited and specific, time-specific issue. This issue has, of course, been debated in 2013 in relation to some of the promises the DMK had made, and the matter had come up before the Supreme Court, and a two-judge bench at that stage had given a view that the proposals and the promises made by the DMK at the relevant point in time or political parties may not constitute freebies and may not fall afoul, and therefore the Supreme Court at that stage had declined to give directions in this matter regulating the grant of freebies. Today the Supreme Court is seized of the matter. The union government, the central government has taken a stand, and there are people both for and against the motion. But this matter needs to be given some consistent and serious thought, because while ensuring social and economic justice, we can't have a situation where we are causing injustice to other sections of the society by making them subsidize the existence of people. And therefore, there has to be a specific purpose and a specific justification as to why, whether it is units of electricity or units of water, or whether it is, specific kinds of employment. After all, Manrega has been accepted as a valid welfare scheme. So that is again in furtherance of the constitutional principle. But that does not mean that benefits or financial benefits to persons who may not be requiring them, or who are, where it is found that it is more in the nature of pure largesse without achieving a social purpose, that I believe would not be acceptable. And that is what the Supreme Court is seeking to determine.
Right.
And they are planning to possibly create a committee on Monday, which will then look into these matters.
Okay. Do you feel, Mr. Luthra, there is a gap in the law when it comes to distribution of freebies ahead of elections? Do you think there is another law needed by the legislature, or there is clarity, there's some clarity that is needed from the Supreme Court on the interpretation of the law?
Look, let's be realistic. One of the problems we have in our elections is that the limits that are set for spending by a candidate are absolutely unrealistic in terms of the actual expenditure done. So till we address that issue, the primary issue, we will A, not be able to stop corruption in elections, and B, we will not be able to document the kind of benefits voters are given by individual candidates. Having said that, at the second level, there are benefits which are given at the government level or the political level or at the party level, and promises made in the manifesto which are carried out by state funds. Now this is the second level of the issue, and that's the most important issue which is under consideration now before the Supreme Court. Insofar as this is concerned, what is very important is that while the directive principles give a broad outline, there is perhaps now time to determine what is the nature of benefits that ought to be granted, because once there is the law, that law can be tested against constitutional principles. In the absence of a law and parties giving benefits as and when they desire and justifying them, it's only government policies, and courts are normally rarely interfering with government policies, especially social and economic policies. Therefore, I believe it's time to have specific legislations which deal with and regulate the grant of benefits, if I may call them that. I'd rather not use the word freebies, to citizens, not just at the time of election, but throughout the term of the government.
Right. Another view coming in, and this is from some members of the bar, that this is not an issue over which the Supreme Court should be ruling. It is something for the legislature, for the politicians of the country to sit together and decide. Looking at the debates we have been having on TV channels on the subject, looking at the divide within the political fraternity, will there be any kind of consensus in the political fraternity over this? Do you think a framing of a law will be possible, or will the Supreme Court have to give some very strong directions on this effect?
In 2013, Supreme Court refrained from laying down guidelines, but now we are 9 years later, and I must tell you, which political outfit in this country is going to frame guidelines restricting their rights to give voters benefits which cause them electoral benefit? I don't think that seems to be happening in the near future, unless we get a very strong government which is very sensitive to the social justice, as also to ensuring Article 14 and the other and the principle and the directive principles. So unless that happens, I don't see a legislation coming into being in the near future, and especially at least at the state level, you will find that a lot of benefits are sought to be given to citizens with the idea to soften them, if I may say, for the purpose of ensuring votes. I don't see the legislation happening, so therefore I think what the Supreme Court refrained from doing in 2013 has not worked, and it is time now to go ahead and do this. I mean, I'll give you a simple example. Look at Delhi, for example. Your water bills have gone up, your electricity bills have gone up, and there are people who get free units of electricity, though they really don't need them just because their meter reading is less than a certain limit. Now, this is a constant issue across the board. I believe that those who deserve benefits must be provided those benefits, just as we give rations and others under various welfare schemes and Manrega. But at the same time, the Indian state has a limited number of resources, and those resources must be used for those who need and deserve them most, and not for those who fall into certain arbitrary categories. And that perhaps may have to be done at the level of the Supreme Court right now, because legislation doesn't seem to be happening.
And my final question, sir, we've run out of time, but just in about 20 seconds, do you feel that it's time to also strengthen the Election Commission? They wanted to stay out of any committee that is formed on the issue of benefits for the people of freebies. Do you feel it's time to also strengthen the arms of the Election Commission?
I think the strengthening of the Election Commission often depends on the person who holds the post of the Chief Election Commissioner. They have some powers. Yes, there may need a little fine-tuning to the Representation of People Act, but the Election Commission is a fairly strong body if it chooses so to be, and it is time for the Election Commission to show its mettle and to show that it means business and ensures free and fair elections in terms of the kind of promises and offers that various political outfits make to people. But a little fine-tuning in the Representation of People Act would definitely be welcome. I don't know whether that's going to happen in the near future.
Okay, we've run out of time, but thank you very much, Mr. Siddharth Luthra, for joining us, giving us your view on the best way ahead when it comes to regulating these benefits that are rolled out during elections. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of News Center. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.